Have you experienced any weird or surprising rules in Japan?
I was also surprised, maybe culture shock's the wrong word, but surprised about the lack of... At the traffic lights, you have to wait before you cross.
Some of the social norms are different from the US.
I think something that would send North Americans into a coma is...
Hi everyone, guten Abend, it's Tatsu. Today, I'm going to interview non-Japanese people traveling in Japan to find out their biggest culture shocks. By watching this video, you'll get a better idea of what to expect when visiting or living in Japan. If you enjoy this kind of content, I really appreciate it. If you subscribe my channel and hit the like button. Alright, let's dive into it. Well, thank you very much for help. What country are you from?
We're from Canada.
Both from Canada.
Can I ask which part?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm from Montreal.
And I'm from Quebec City, which
Awesome.
is in the Quebec province,
I
so
see.
the French province of Canada.
That means, do you speak French by any chance?
We
Yes,
do
we
speak
do.
French,
Oh,
both
awesome.
of us.
How long have you been in Japan so far?
We've been in Japan for 23 days.
Yeah.
And
We're staying 28 days, so
almost a
Yeah,
month.
almost a month.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm curious, what made you come to Japan?
So we were both on an exchange in Lisbon, in Portugal. And I wanted to visit Japan because it's always just been on my bucket list. And I spoke with Alexis in...
we just made it happen. It was also my bucket list.
Yeah.
I
So
see.
in February, we decided to book our plane tickets, and now we're both here.
As you said, you've been in Japan for a month. Have you regretted anything since coming to Japan?
I regretted packing too heavy at first. I had one big backpack on my back and then one small one in the front, and I was dying. And so I had to let go of some stuff on the way. I left clothes at hotels and stuff. So packing too heavy was definitely one thing I regretted the most.
Yeah, I would say it's the same for me, packing too heavy.
It's also been like very, very hot. And so I think I would have packed just lighter clothes. Not think about the fashion of it all and just pack light clothes.
What was the best decision or experience you've had?
I would say for me, the most surprising experience was really Tokyo. I thought it would be really chaotic, but it was really nice, really well organized, well structured,
Clean.
really easy to get around town, really clean. Everything was beautiful also.
I think the best experience for me, it might sound very, very touristy, but we did a kimono and tea ceremony in Kyoto,
Wow, awesome.
which I really, really enjoyed. So all the tea ceremony was really something I enjoyed.
Is Japanese culture getting more and more popular in Canada nowadays?
I think there's...
Maybe products like matcha.
Yeah.
Matcha.
Yeah, like the products from Japan, or even, I know you watch a lot of like
Maybe anime
animes.
or mangas and
I
stuff.
don't, yeah.
Maybe it's more popular.
Depends on what, but I think matcha is gaining more and more popularity in terms of like food and products, but mangas for sure.
Have you faced any weird or surprising rules in Japan so far? Can be the culture shocks.
I think something that would send North Americans into a coma is the bathrooms are... First, there's so many buttons. The heated seats are game changer. I love it so much. And I think just the like the toilet seat cleaner, where you just like spray something and then like wash, that was like shocking in the best way. I think that was really cool. So I think like that's something that surprised me. And just how polite Japanese people have been to us.
Right,
Yeah, like very welcoming, but very, very polite, even with the language barrier.
For me, maybe the size of the bathroom. It's really small. It's not easy to get
He's a
around.
tall guy.
How tall are you?
6'1".
6'1".
So
But it's the only thing.
I'd say something that surprised me a lot, I don't know if it's from Japanese culture, but Japan Airlines is the airline that we flew with.
Yeah.
And we had such good service, such good food on board compared to like the Canadian airlines. So I would say that
Yeah,
for sure.
our airlines really suck, so maybe it's not that.
I don't know. I don't know if I would
maybe
say
it's
that
not
way, but
that
yeah.
hard to beat.
Yeah, but it was really, really good. We were both surprised by that.
Anything you wish you knew before coming to Japan?
I knew how humid summers were, but I didn't think June was going to be that humid.
This year must be quite
Holy, yeah.
kind of strange.
For me, but for you, it wasn't that big
No,
of a
it
deal.
wasn't that bad.
I don't tolerate heat, but he does, so that's where we differentiate a bit.
Maybe
go
for
ahead.
me, the airport was really far from the cities.
Yeah.
Maybe
True.
plan in
Yeah.
advance.
That's kind of a bit inconvenient, right?
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
inconvenient.
Yeah, you have to plan
Takes
it
time.
in your travel days. Plan
Other
it
than
ahead.
that, I don't
Other
know.
than that, no, you're right. I think that everything is affordable for like
Yeah.
compared to the Canadian dollar ratio. For us, it's a nice like yeah, the flights are expensive, but once you're here, it's like really affordable.
I'm a bit curious, like you've been in Japan for a month.
Yep.
Did you get used to bow?
Yeah,
No, yeah.
yeah, we got used to it. I thought it was really cute. Not cute, but like very respectful. Again,
Yeah,
it
it
comes
is.
back to being like polite and.
Does it happen in Canada?
Yeah.
No, you bow? We're from different regions of
We
Montreal,
don't
Quebec, so
Ah, okay.
bow like this, but we just
nod. Yeah,
we just
it's
nod
true.
when we see
Ah.
someone.
Like we
say
don't
hi.
fully bow, but we're like
Yeah, it's kind of
just
the
like
same.
head nod.
We just
It's
don't
just
do it as
different.
often.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you have any advice for non-Japanese tourists who are thinking of coming to Japan?
I would say pack lightly.
Yeah, one bag only.
Yeah, one bag only. You can buy everything you need here.
Shop to Uniqlo.
Shop
And
to
Goo-
Uniqlo because we have Uniqlos in Canada, but we don't have GU.
The only Uniqlo is kind of just globalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say my recommendation is go to
Okay.
GU for some clothes. And I think my most the thing that we did that I liked the most was we didn't plan a lot of things. Like we booked tickets to like Disney or like Universal, like the big attractions, but we didn't book that many stuff. We like left it open for sightseeing, and I really like that about our travel. So I would say not to like over plan stuff.
Yeah, no, not overpack your schedule. Maybe have time to just roam in the city.
Yeah, grab a
See
coffee.
gardens, go grab a coffee or something like that. Yeah.
What Japanese phrase must people know? Yeah.
Arigatou gozaimasu. To say thank you.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right? Yeah.
You got it. Yeah.
I
you
think
got it.
that and konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Yeah. I wish I could say something more, but
That's
I'd probably just say thank
Yeah,
you.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No, my pleasure.
Thank you very much for help. Could you give me a bit of introduction of yourself, please?
My name's Josh,
My name's Erin.
and we're both from England. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Welcome to Japan. How long have you been in Japan so far?
We got to Japan about 6 days ago, and we've just started a 3-month trip going from Sapporo all the way down to Okinawa.
What made you come to Japan?
So we've wanted to come here for ages just because it's such a different culture to what we're used to. So we thought, why not? Plan the trip of a lifetime, start in Japan.
Have you regretted anything since coming to Japan?
I don't think we've regretted anything yet, to be fair. Like, it's kind of, we've been watching so many videos about it and like learning as much as we can. We've been learning Japanese as much as we can. It just seems like a lovely place. So no regrets so
No
far.
regrets,
Probably
yeah.
packing a bit too much, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, none so
Yeah.
far.
What's the best decision or experience in Japan so far?
Like I said, we haven't really been here too long. We've experienced a lot. We've been to Otaru and seen the canals and seen that lovely side of things. We've been in Sapporo. We've been to like what's the ramen place called? Ichiran?
Ichiran? Okay.
Ichiran.
Yeah, we were there.
We've done a lot of the touristy things so far, but I think as our trip progresses, there's going to be lots of things that we feel are incredible, really. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're still finding our feet, to be fair. We haven't been here too long, but it's been very nice. Everyone's been really friendly, and it's as expected to, and puts Japan in a fantastic light.
Have you experienced any surprising or weird rules in Japan?
At the traffic lights, you have to wait before you cross. You can't just cross the road whenever.
And safety as well.
Yeah, it's very safe here. I don't know what else.
Well, do you know, like all of the builders, all of your government employees, they're like waving people across the road, and like they're all wearing helmets, they're all being safe, and everyone's cleaning, and it's just very respectable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of respect for the country.
area, yeah.
The Japanese people have a lot of respect for their country,
Right.
which is really nice to see, I think. So
Yeah.
not necessarily a weird rule, but definitely something we see less of in the UK. Less respect for your country, I suppose.
Anything you wish you knew before coming to Japan?
So I think we really prepared for our trip in terms of we started learning Japanese quite a long time
6
ago.
months ago.
Yeah,
Don't test us though.
not good. I probably would say, yeah, learning it has been, even though we don't know too much, it's definitely, I can't imagine coming and not knowing any Japanese. So it's definitely helped.
To be fair, when we booked the flights, we didn't know how hot Japan got. So we're in Tokyo in a couple of weeks. I've heard it's meant to be very, very hot.
True.
But we booked tickets like over a year and a half ago. So when we booked the plane tickets, we didn't know it was so hot. Luckily, at the minute, it's nice and it's quite hot, but not too hot. But I think in a couple of weeks, we might wish that we knew how hot it was in Tokyo
Yeah.
mid-July.
I see.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
see.
be prepared. We get the brollies, the sun umbrellas, which is also another good rule that you have. The sun umbrellas, you don't see that anywhere else in Europe. They're great idea.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for non-Japanese people who are thinking of coming to Japan?
We can really only speak from the perspective of British people, I suppose. But advice I would give is like what Erin said, is like learn some of the language, respect things that might not necessarily be normal in your own country, embrace it, integrate, be respectful of everyone around you. Yeah, generally just think think about where you are. You're in someone else's country, and be as friendly to them as they are to you.
Thank you so much. What country are you from?
We're from the United States.
Oh, the US, awesome. Could I ask which part?
I'm from Texas originally.
And I'm from New England.
How long have you been in Japan so far?
About 2.5 weeks. We're here 3 weeks total. We started in Tokyo and then did Kyoto, Osaka, Hiroshima.
What made you come to Japan?
I think we were really excited to explore the nature and the food and the culture. We had friends who had visited before and they really, really loved it. So they inspired us to come visit as well.
And one of those things you kind of just want to see in person too. Obviously, Japan has there's a big preconceived image of Japan in the United States and like across like the West generally. And so it's, an interesting, unusual place by comparison. So excited to be here and like see it in person.
What surprised you the most when you arrived in Japan?
I'd say it wasn't a huge surprise, but I was actually maybe a little surprised to see how well the public transit system worked. That's kind of, especially when you're in Tokyo, has a reputation for being well run and having good public transit. But it was amazing to see just really how quickly the trains arrived, how regularly they arrived, how easy it was to get around the city, and even like outside of the capital. I think that has also been true. That public transit in every city we've been in has been quite good.
What sort of image did you have towards Japan or Japanese people before you came to Japan?
I think I thought it was going to feel a lot busier. Tokyo is the largest city in the world, and when we first got there, I thought it was going to be very hectic, like how New York is. And I was very surprised once we got here that it was smooth and organized, and the trains came very, very quickly, and everyone was also like very willing to help give instructions and just be helpful, which is something that I really respected.
I'd say the image beforehand, I think has been borne out, is that just how I guess helpful everyone's been, especially again to return to transit. There's always like tourists arriving who don't really know exactly how to get around and how to use the bus system, how to use the metro system. So just the willingness of like all of the officers in the station to help people out and help them get around was very impressive.
Has the impression changed after you came to Japan?
Like I said, the things of the image of it always being busy, always being crowded is not entirely true. There's a lot of peaceful and quiet spots in Japan as well. But I'd say actually a lot of like the positive reputation that Japan has, at least in the United States, has been born through, where a lot of the systems work well, people are very friendly, the food's fantastic. So I think a lot of like you could say positive stereotypes of the country have proven true.
I had very high expectations for the trip and all the places that we got to visit, and it was surpassed. It's better than we even thought it would be. So feeling very lucky to have been able to come.
What was the biggest culture shock after you got to Japan?
A little bit like Pierce said. I mean, obviously Tokyo is a very busy city, and even all the cities we've been to have been very busy, but how quiet things have been in other areas, and especially how early the cities kind of shut down. Maybe I'd expected every Japanese city to be like going all night, like New York. But it's like around 10 p.m., everything's pretty quiet and very peaceful. That was actually a huge surprise. I'd expected it to be just bustling all the time, but when in fact there's also a lot of peace and quiet at night as well.
Bye.
I think I was also surprised, maybe culture shock's the wrong word, but surprised about the lack of trash cans everywhere.
Yeah.
Getting used to carrying around trash until you find a trash can and a recycling bin, I think is something that took a little bit to get used to.
A lot of small differences of habit that like you don't really know about until you arrive and you're like, oh, they do things just a little bit differently here.
Do you have any advice to us non-Japanese people who want to come to Japan?
I think one that comes to mind is like not being afraid to walk around to find restaurants rather than always looking online. Like some of our favorite restaurants we've been to have just been like
small izakaya that we like encounter just by walking around. And I think that's such a treat. The food is always really good no matter where you go.
And I'd say like, similar to what here says. Don't be afraid to like look off the beaten path, especially in like the big cities. There's always like the list of things that you're supposed to do, but yeah, there's just been a lot of like great discoveries that just just walking around you end up finding. So just be prepared for a little serendipity.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for help. Could you give me a bit of introduction of yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Max. I'm from Boston. Been in Japan for about a month. I started in Osaka, I did Kyoto, I did a bunch of places in Japan.
I'm curious about what made you come to Japan.
So initially I wanted to do like sightseeing stuff, but then I saw like a ton of temples, and then by the 10th temple I was like, you know what, I want to just chill somewhere, and it has great weather in the summer, so I decided to come here.
Have you regretted anything since coming to Japan?
I regret not having learned more Japanese, because that's actually what I'm doing now, and that's how I met Tatsu. I was sitting on my phone trying to learn katakana, and yeah, so if I knew a little bit more Japanese, I could actually talk to people here, and I feel like I would have gotten a better experience. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to learn.
What was the best decision or experience you've had here?
I went to Kamikochi, and that was really cool. I'm a big fan of nature. It was like a really nice valley. You could see all the mountains right next to you, and it was like pouring rain, but I still really enjoyed it because, the rain is its own aesthetic, so I loved it out there.
Have you experienced any weird or surprising rules in Japan?
I would say some of the social norms are different from the US, and I have an appreciation for both, of course. But for example, today I went to a restaurant and I sat at the bar, and there were two salary men next to me, and here it's kind of the norm to sort of you eat and you kind of do your own thing, whereas in the US you might start talking to the people next to you, but here I guess you have the expectation that you kind of do your own thing. But I've also had the experience of like, you go to, you're out at night somewhere and you're sitting next to a Japanese person, and you talk to them and they're super excited to talk to a foreigner. It really goes both ways, and you just, you never know what somebody's doing. So
anything you wish you knew before coming to Japan?
I wish I knew how hot like Tokyo, Osaka was going to be, maybe explore some of the nature around here. And I kind of figured out that, I was less interested in sightseeing like cities and stuff like that, and I wanted to do other stuff with my time, like see nature stuff.
Where was the best place where is unfamiliar among non-Japanese tourists?
So I would say two things: Kamikochi, which I already talked about, and also I went to Kanazawa, and I went during a Matsuri festival. I thought that was really cool because I'd never experienced a Japanese festival, and it was just pretty impressive to see just groups of like 30 people like all in uniform, and you had like 50 of those groups just, and I remember standing on like a platform looking right and left of this like giant street, and it was just hordes of people dancing. So that was really impressive. I don't really see, even with like festivals or parades in the US, that level of organization is very impressive.
Before coming to Japan, what was the impression of Japan or Japanese people, and how did it change?
I guess I didn't really have much of an expectation, I would say. But then when I came here, I kind of saw that, it was more like people kind of do their own thing, they do their own business. It's also incredibly polite. I don't think I've been to a safer place than Japan either. Like, I'm never worried about like my belongings or them getting stolen or stuff like that. And yeah, people are incredibly nice here, so it's been really good.
What's the impression dating culture in Japan?
My impression is that from what I've heard, it's mostly like Japanese people kind of introduce themselves to their friends, and that's how you meet people to date. I would say it's very different. I feel like in the U.S. it's a bit more common the other way around. It's the girlfriend, the girl asking the guy. It's the guy is expected to approach first, or set up a date first, and then eventually, if things progress well, it'd be I think it's a bit more common, but things are changing obviously, and I think it goes both ways now. But it's a bit more common for the girl to ask the guy to, be in a relationship.
A bit
Thank you.